Hello. Okay, so one of the things that I'm really excited about doing this year is showing you how to read a book. I know that sounds really pretentious, but I promise that I actually know something about this. How to read a book is actually the title of a class that I used to teach at the University of Washington in their Comparative History of Ideas program. It's kind of exciting. And so what the thing that we're going to do this year is I'm going to, for, I don't know, all of the books that I assign, most of the books, I'm actually going to be making a video like this that walks you through what are the steps that you should do to actually just taste a book. There's a reason that I feel so passionate about this. In theory, the library should have been the last invention that humans ever needed. But the problem is people don't know how to use libraries. They feel like, oh, there's so many books inside. It'd take me a lifetime to read all these. And they're totally right. What they don't understand is what's sometimes called the 20-80 rule, Pareto laws. Is that the right word for that? I think it is. This idea that you can actually spend just a minuscule amount of time trying to do something and get actually like a large fraction of the benefit of that thing. So what follows is us doing, first of all, an x-ray and then a tasting of this book, which was for Black Holes, lesson 2. Okay, so Bryson's A Short History of Nearly Everything. First thing to do, look at the cover. Take a look at it. Try to turn this cover, this title, into a question. A really short history of nearly everything. What kind of question? Okay, so what is the story of everything? Are there parts of everything that are specifically left out? Is there a reason that he has the word nearly in there? Is there a reason that the word really is in here? Would a short history of nearly everything actually just suffice for this? Okay, I don't know if that was particularly helpful. Step 2, take a look at the back of the book. Go ahead and actually read the back of the book out loud. Remember, the whole purpose of the front and the back of the book is an advertisement to you. It's trying to like sing to you, right? Come here, read me, take and read, tole lege. And so it really behooves you if you're trying to figure out, is this book worth my time to read the back of it? So did you know that every atom in your body has almost certainly passed through several stars and been part of millions of organisms on its way to you? That's super creepy. If you are an average-sized kid, you have enough potential energy inside you to explode with the force of several hydrogen bombs. That's calming. You can keep reading this on your own, right? I don't want to take up too much of your time right now. But literally, go through, read this out loud, or at least slowly, kind of grok that needs to deeply understand this. Next thing to do is take a look at the inside book flap. Okay, there isn't one in this because there isn't actually a book jacket. I think there was, and I think I threw it away because I have ambiguous feelings toward book jackets. There's not a flap in the back either. Okay, so the next thing to do is to go through and take a look at the table of contents. You shouldn't, I don't know, you don't need to read this entirely here, but just take a look at the clumps from here, right? So I see lost, my screen is backwards, lost in the cosmos, the size of the Earth, a new age dawns, dangerous planets, life itself, the road to us. What is the purpose of all these things that we are doing? It's to figure out, is this book worth my time? By x-raying it, we are taking a look from the outside and trying to get a sense of what the inside is. We're kind of fudging it, right, with taking a look at the table of contents, because we're kind of inside the book right now, but we're only skin deep, right? And we're trying to figure out what the whole thing is. You know, the whole thing is just from this. Next thing that you might want to do is go to the index at the back, and this actually does have an index. The word index, like in the back of the book, is actually the same index in your index finger. I always used to have a hard time understanding why is it called the index finger? Which one of these is my index finger again? It turns out that index is just the Latin word for to point, right? Because you use it to point at something. Hark. A pointed to thing. I don't know. So the idea is you point with this, and these point you to different parts of a book. In fact, when indices, that's the proper pluralization, don't ever use that. When indexes were first invented in the 1700s, there were people who complained that this was cheating. That no, in order to understand what the book says, you should actually go through the entire danged book all by yourself. You shouldn't just be able to cheat and find where a thing is. If people use the indexes, then they will just know these facts that are not connected to anything else. We won't have wise people, we'll have book smart people who are actually stupid. And definitely nothing like that happened. So take a look at the index. My recommendation, or at least what I typically do, is I start at the end and I'll just read a couple little things. I'm basically trying to figure out if anything is interesting enough to me that I might want to jump to that. So I'm seeing Fritz Zwicky, X-rays, vents, uranium, urine, species, Stegosaurus, sea cows, protoplasm, petrol, Peking man, Peking, never sure. Interesting story with that. Ooh, Olduvai Gorge, great story with that. Gregor Mendel, Carolus Linnaeus, Inheritance, HIV, Halley's Comet, George Gamow. I've heard of his name before. I don't know who he is. John Dalton. Charles Darwin has quite a bit in here. The Circumference of the Earth. William Buckland had a really weird food preference. Buckland did. Atomic Bomb. Alchemy. I think I actually might have learned that from here. Walter Alvarez. Ooh, I met him once. So you're doing this just to get a sense of what is this book talking about. Now, sometimes when I get a new book from the library, I will see this and oh my gosh, yes, I want to get this. I want to really read this one section. And that is it. That is all that I will want to read of a book. And I can just zoom into that one section and learn something impressive and wonderful that I make a note of, make it into a spaced repetition flashcard, and then I move on with my life. I never even check that book up from the library. Oh, one little thing. When we are doing this reading thing, right, this whole book a week thing, in order to get into the Philosopher's Club, which gives you access to the Secret Seventh Lesson, the Brain Bowl, the quiz, in order to do that, you do need to do sections 1, 2, 3, and 4 of every single of the 6 deep dives that I make up. And you're like, but I don't have the money to buy 6 books. I don't have the time to read 6 books in 6 weeks. First of all, maybe you do have that time. I don't know what your life is like. Second of all you have to do is go to your library and get the books. That's it. You can go to your bookstore and get them too. You don't have to buy them. You don't have to actually even check them out. You just have to go and take a look at them. And of course, if your library just literally doesn't have it and you can't get in like an interlibrary loan or something, you're fine. You're free. You did the work. It's fantastic. The books that we assign, that I assign, will typically be your library, though I try to choose popular ones. Okay, so now that we've X-rayed it, right, which is the front, the back, the inside, which isn't a thing, the table of contents, and the index, note all the things, the front-ish part and the back-ish part of the books. Now that we've X-rayed it, it's time to do the tasting. Okay, so the tasting is very non-structured, non-linear. My recommendation is to set a timer for 5 minutes, sit down, and then hit start, and then just pop around here, looking at random crap inside of the book. Do not go in order. Don't start at the beginning. Don't start at the beginning. Don't start at the beginning. You can start at the end. You can start in the middle. You can start at some place that seemed interesting because of what you read in the table of contents or the index at the end. Go somewhere. And what you're asking right now is, am I going to fall in love with this book? Which is to say, is this book worthy of more of my time than just these 5 minutes? Should I buy this book if you're at the library or at the bookstore? Or should I check out this book if you're at the library? Bop around for 5 minutes. And then if at the end of 5 minutes you're like, okay, don't get it, it's fine. That's fantastic. Good for you. You've done the work, not just for the Philosopher's Club, but in order to expose yourself to new ideas. Because here's the real thing. What you want to become is the sort of human being who knows a lot about, even knows a little bit about a crapload of different stuff. And then knows a few things in extraordinary depth. And more importantly than that, is really interested in how everything connects together. Doing this book tasting thing, this is one of the big secrets. I will put, whenever I hear about an interesting book, whenever I go to a bookstore and see an interesting book, I will put a hold on it at my library. I use my library's local app to do that, so I don't have to go there and hunt through the shelves. And then when I come to the library about once a week, there's this large pile of books that is waiting for me, and I put it on the table next to me, and then I set a timer for 5 minutes, and I spend 5 minutes in one book, 5 minutes in another book, and after I finish them, when I am happy, when the book, I've kind of fallen in love with the book, I put it in one pile, which is the take-home pile, and the other one is the rejected pile. I just give those ones straight back. I have this whole funnel, I'll probably be talking more about that later, that I use to find and test out, kind of test drive the very best books. This is how I run my life. It's part of it, right? Anki is another part of it. There's like these classes that you might have heard about. That's actually another part of kind of my intellectual life. Yeah. So grab this book from the library or something, or the bookstore or whatever. Do it because it's amazing. This particular book is. But this process of knowing how to x-ray and taste the books, it's one of the most important life skills that you can learn as an intellectual. All right. Good luck, everybody. Happy reading.